Nick at Night on News Talk Radio 580 CFRA.
All right, let's go and talk to Tom like I promised. Tom, how are you?
Oh, pretty good. I wanted to say happy 18th anniversary of the end of global warming.
There you go. And it also happens to be Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's right. We should be Thanksgiving. That the Kyoto Protocol obviously worked as soon as they signed the treaty. Climate change, or I should say global warming, stopped.
That's right.
So it's a great success.
Yep.
You know? Well, it's funny because in 2008, the American government's National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, they said that if there was 15 years with no warming, then there was something wrong with the models that were being used to forecast the climate crisis. And even Phil Jones, the ClimateGate fellow who got in so much trouble,
right.
He said in his email that was leaked, he said, bottom line, the no upward trend has to continue for a total of 15 years before we get worried. Well, we've now just passed 18 years with no warming last week, and so the standard set by the alarmists themselves has been satisfied, so the global warming scare is over.
Oh, joy, oh, bliss.
But
now we can worry about how to get through these longer, colder winters.
Well, the sad thing is, at the same time, Leona Glukak, the Environment Minister of Canada, she just got back from New York and boasting about how we're, I'll quote right out of the press release, moving towards a new climate agreement in 2015 that must include all major economies and major emitters.
Yeah, except for the ones who don't want to participate.
Well, that's right, because, of course, as you know, the developing countries have an out clause that will allow them to basically say, we're not doing it, but we don't have the out clause. So we're being pulled by the Harper government, unfortunately, into another Kyoto, even though global warming stopped 18 years ago.
Oh, man. You know something, Tom? It's better, as Lowell would say, it's better to laugh than cry.
Oh, you might as well.
Yeah, absolutely, because this, without question, is the largest scam ever perpetrated on the human race.
Well, it's costing now approximately $1 billion a day, and most of that's going to try to stop what might happen to people who haven't even been born yet. And, at the same time, they don't have enough money to help people in the Sahel and other parts of Africa who are dying now. I mean, there's still 5 million people a year who die due to bad drinking water effects, like, different diseases.
Yeah.
And they don't have the money to build wells for them, but they do have $1 billion a day, $359 billion in 2012. They have $1 billion a day to spend on something that might happen, in a couple of generations.
Actually, you realize that's a lot more than $1 billion a day.
Well, that was all they could track. Okay?
Yeah, no, but here, let me explain. Let's take your figures as for truth. Okay. First of all, they don't work on weekends. Secondly, how many times they waste days at conferences without actually doing anything? So you really got about 125 or 130 days a year. Now we can figure the number and see what you come up with.
Yeah, and also you have to ask, what is the effect of turning off your cheapest form of electricity? What does that really cost? I mean, in 2003, Ontario got a quarter of its electricity from coal.
Right.
Okay, and they had cleaned up the coal stations. They were pretty good, and they were getting better and better. Mm-hmm. Now we get 0% because Ontario is going to stop climate change, and our electricity prices are going through the roof, and, of course, they're going to skyrocket over the next decade. So you have to ask, what does that cost the society? And I think if you integrate that over the whole Western world, because, of course, Obama's trying to turn off America's coal, which is 40% of all their electricity, that must cost trillions. I mean, the cost must be unbelievable.
You know what? I really wish he'd just worry about ISIL instead of trying to stop something he has no control over.
Well, the sad thing is you have people like Hillary Clinton, who has, the best chance to be their next president, who's saying that the greatest threat to the American public is climate change. Yeah. And I don't know if you saw the cartoon that was in American newspapers. It's sad, but it's hilarious at the same time. There was a little Hillary Clinton doll that was being held by a terrorist in his fist. He was about to cut off her head, and she was reading from a script, and it said, the greatest threat to Americans is climate change. And there's a little bubble above the terrorist's head saying, I know who the real denier is.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's sad. It's like, I can't solve the Ukraine crisis. I can't solve these other, but I'm going to solve climate in the year 2080.
Yeah. Good luck with that. Tom,
it's sad.
I got to stop you there. Appreciate the call.
Thank you.